to experience independent living. Visit us today.
No more fear of missing out. CVM TV News is on YouTube. Get up-to-date news, sports, and business content at CVM TV News anytime, anywhere. Subscribe now to CVM TV News to see it happen.
Jamaica, make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
Well, we've said goodbye to 2024 and we're said hello to 2025. It's going to be a big year this new year, what with the 18th general election since universal adult suffrage set for some time between now and September. Both major political parties, the election machinery revving up. You can hear the sound of the engines in the background. And today, I'll ask political analysts just what do the PNP and the JLP need to do to get themselves in a prime position to capture the bulk of votes come election day. It's all about the political year 2025. We're forecasting today on the first lead story of the new year. Welcome to Lead Story here on CVM TV. It's the first one for the new year. I want to say thank you to all of those who joined us in 2024 when we started on this journey. This program has been growing from strength to strength, largely due to your overwhelmingly positive support. And we commit to doing even better things for you over the course of the new year as we try to give you a platform for you to hear issues, hear and see issues analyzed. You will see the movers and shakers being interviewed robustly where there is fairness in the discourse and where there is no bias in what we do. It's all about the sanctity of information and giving you information with which to make up your own minds. I certainly won't tell you what to think, what to say. Nobody can tell me what to think or what to say. And of course, I won't try to do that to you. It's just to give you the information to help you to make up your own mind. So that's my commitment to you in this 2025. I will share the information necessary for you to understand the issues. And if there is a determination to be made, you'll be in a good position to make that determination based on what I share. But I commit to not be one of those people who is programmed to tell you what to do, because I myself am immune to being programmed. Here we go with the first program for the new year. And we're talking politics because we want to look into 2025 to see where it is the political fortunes may lie or may lay based on how both political parties are poised. This is election year. It is an opposition that had a very good 2024. It's a government that had a difficult 2024. And so both those parties come into, both those entities come into this new year with all to play for as we draw closer to that period when nomination day will be announced and then a few weeks before the election is contested and then all 63 seats become a battleground. Well, there are some which are unassailable based on their historical voting pattern, but for the most part it will be a hugely competitive thing right across this country. And we just want to test what the political parties have to do to make themselves the more attractive of the big two going to the polls. Not to discount, of course, the smaller parties who are set to field candidates, but the history does tell us that they will have an almighty task making an impression at the polls, given the penchant for Jamaicans to stick to either PNP or JLP. We've prepared this piece for you, this more contemplative and forecasting than anything else, to set the tone for today's discussion, where we'll talk about the political year that 2025 promises to be.
In December 2024, Jamaica took a decisive step towards full sovereignty. Before the lower house, Constitutional Affairs Minister Marlene Malahoo Fort introduced a bill aimed at severing ties with King Charles as head of state, paving the way for a true Jamaican republic.
Let's choose a future that is brighter than our past.
The Constitution Amendment Republic Act 2024, slated for debate in March 2025, received cautious support from the parliamentary opposition, which reiterated its stance against the Privy Council. In October, the Holness administration faced a significant shake-up with the resignation of celebrated Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke to join the International Monetary Fund. Dr. Clarke made history as the first Caribbean national to hold such a high-ranking position within the IMF.
But I've always known that Nigel's skills and his service is not always going to be local in focus. And it is indeed a distinct honor that that skill resided with us, and we now give that skill to the world.
His departure cleared the way for Harvard-educated Fayval Williams to become Jamaica's first female finance minister.
Finance is more than balancing the books. It is about ensuring that every resource we allocate is a step towards a more prosperous and a more inclusive economy.
The ministry was quickly tested soon after her appointment when the Jamaica Accountability Meter portal JAMP revealed that approximately $3 trillion in public funds remain unaccounted for due to several government ministries and agencies failing to submit appropriation accounts.
We at the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service are committed to working with ministries to ensure timely completion of these reports at the standard that is required.
In April, Juliet Holness faced criticism over a letter targeting former clerk to the Houses of Parliament Valerie Curtis for her management of Auditor General reports. The controversy intensified amid questions about Holness's dual role as Speaker and wife of Prime Minister Andrew Holness. Tensions peaked during the March budget debate, leading to a dramatic government walkout.
The Speaker is intended to be independent and must act independently of the government today. That is the tradition. That is the tradition.
The opposition mirrored this move with its own Senate walkout in July over a separate matter. The 2024 local government election in February resulted in a 7-7 split between the JLP and PNP, though the PNP won the popular vote with 51.83%. Months of campaigning saw heated exchanges, including verbal attacks on the press. The government later distanced itself from remarks made by its members. The controversies culminated in what many regard as the year's most significant clash, the Prime Minister's ongoing legal battle with the Integrity Commission over his statutory declarations.
28 bank accounts, over 80 witness statements collected. This effort to pursue me and my affairs led to the hiring of an international forensic accounting examiner for 6 months.
After the tabling of a second Integrity Commission report alleging building breaches involving a company linked to him, Prime Minister Holness expressed concern about being unfairly targeted. 2025 is an election year, and while we couldn't cover every story, like the Marquis British debacle, this year promises to be even more eventful. Ramon Gordon for CVM News.
Yeah, an eventful year 2024 was. Details matter is all I'll say, beyond what the blaring headline will say. The details of situation and the nuance and the ability to understand nuance, it's a skill more important these days than perhaps at any time in this age of disinformation, misinformation, and a need by people to use the facts, stretch the facts, and lie with the facts. Yeah? It's a difficult time to be in the information sharing business, but we have to stand firm and we have to remain at the forefront of information that is unfiltered and that allows you to make up your own minds about what it is that you are consuming. That's a commitment we give right here, that we'll put that work in to be able to give you something you can lean on, something you can trust as you make up your own mind based on the information that you've been given. Much more to contemplate. Thank you for that piece, Ramon, after this break.
JPS, we love to serve you. It's our joy to bring you the light. You are the reason we get out there every day and stay late into the night. It's been our privilege and pleasure to serve you. May this Christmas be merry and bright.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Jamaica. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Jamaica. Be safe and be joyful.
No more fear of missing out. CVM TV News is on YouTube. Get up-to-date news, sports, and business content at CVM TV News anytime, anywhere. Subscribe now to CVM TV News to see it happen.
Yeah, it's like a game at halftime, you know, where in the first half, if we're talking about the two major political parties, the PNP and the JLP, the PNP had a stormer. Yeah, they played some brilliant football in that first half. The JLP on the back foot, a couple of own goals, and they went to the interval, the halftime interval, with a lot of things to fix. The PNP went in cock-a-hoop and with the prospects of really sinking their teeth further into their opponents, the JLP. Well, if halftime was the proverbial Christmas holiday season, well, not proverbial, the holiday season was real. The holiday season was halftime, and January marks the start of the second half. The government is hoping that it can leave that bad first half form behind and that it can now find its best stride, its best footing, play its best football in this segment of the game. And the PNP are hoping that the brilliant first half they had, if 2024 was a half, will continue into 25 and that they'll continue to really, as I said, sink their teeth into their opponents. That's pretty much the situation that typifies both these two political giants as we go into this new year. And I want to hear from Helene Davis-White and Dr. Michael Abrahams, their perspectives on where the parties stand and what they need to do to move the needle as they try to pull supporters to them and support their cause for occupation of Jamaica House. Dr. Abrahams is the first up. Good evening, Dr. Abrahams. Welcome to Lead Story on CVM TV and Happy New Year to you, sir.
Happy New Year, George. You can call me Michael, and I know the doctor hype business. So start of the new year, you know.
I need to poke fun at you. You know, we have a better relationship than doctor and patient, yeah? Or doctor and commentator. Well, here's the thing now, sir.
Yeah, you're not one of my patients unless your pronouns have changed.
Absolutely not. No. I like that. There you go. You're on point as usual. But hear me now, Mikey. Where we are, where 2025 is concerned, and the political fortunes of both the two big political parties, the year they had politically in 2024 and their prospects for 2025. When you look at the next few months heading into the competitive election season, what do you see when you look at the PNP? What do you see when you look at the JLP?
George, I must be honest, I'm not really comfortable with either side right now. I think the JLP has lost the confidence of a lot of us. There's a perception that the government has become very arrogant and entitled. There are too many questions about money being unaccounted for. This whole Integrity Commission situation is another major issue. The country's not at a bad place right now. I mean, the roads are under deplorable condition. Crime is out of control. The health sector is not where it ought to be. Neither is the education sector, and food prices are going up. It's not at a good place. On the other hand, when you look at the opposition, I'm a physician, so my job affords me the opportunity to speak to a wide cross-section of people just about, what's going on in the country. And one of the commonest things I hear, George, is people will tell me, I'm not I'm not comfortable with the government, but there's no opposition. People ask me, where's the opposition? And the PNP's presence has not been felt to the extent that I think it ought to be. And I think they have a lot of work to do to convince the majority of us that they are a unified, that they're a well-oiled machine, that they are a unit working together, and that they will do better than the government. Because showing disenchantment with the government does not equate to bigging up the opposition, that they will be our saviors. I think there are problems with both, to be honest with you. I'm uncomfortable with both.
Yeah. Let me pick you up on the crime issue. You said that crime is going up. The police are reporting a 19% decline in murders and an all-round decline in major crimes. They've said that almost 260 fewer people were murdered in 2024 relative to 2023.
George, and I want to quote the statistics, George, but I did not say crime is going up. I said crime is out of control. It's a totally different thing.
Hold on. Right. So that's where we're going.
Out of control.
But hold on. If you say crime is out of control, and that is indeed what you said, and that is where I pivoted from. When you say crime is out of control, I'm saying to you as the counterpunch to say, well, okay, reconcile your statement that crime is out of control when the police are reporting that all major crimes are down and murder, the big one, is down 19%. That's my point to you.
It's still out of control, George. I do surgery. If somebody is hemorrhaging and losing, for example, let me say 500 mils of blood every 10 minutes, and I cut it down to 200 mils. They're still bleeding. They're still hemorrhaging. It's not under control.
Yeah.
It's still not under control, George.
Yeah. But hold on. But I take the point, of course.
Over 1,000 people a year, George.
Yes, I take the point. I take the point. But we're in a situation, and again, I'm just using the numbers to ask you to reconcile or sharpen your perspective. I'm saying, when it is that the murder statistics are above what they were for any review period, that is a basis for lamentation and for saying, well, nothing is working well. When major crimes are higher than they were for any review period, we do the same thing. So I'm just saying that given that the police have said that these things are going down, they would say that it is proof that our management is beginning to yield some results. But you're still saying that you don't feel safe and the thing is still out of control. Is that what you're saying?
I don't feel safe, George. I don't feel safe. No, I don't. And if you want to talk about crime, let's talk about crime and the government. Before the Prime Minister was elected, he said that if you were to become the Prime Minister, we'd be able to sleep with our windows and doors open.
November 2015 in Hanover,
Yeah, I know that's so hard. It's it's a strange thing to say, but it suggests that you probably have some type of crime plan in mind.
Yeah.
And when we see crime out of control now, or the rate very high, he made a comment that it is PNPism that is causing this. And I have a problem with that, George, because you see, if you're a leader, you should take responsibility for things that happen under your watch. You don't go and blame the other side. The PNP, of course, they have contributed to it. Both parties have contributed to it. But don't make a promise. You don't fulfill your promise. And then you blame the other side. I have an issue with that. And that's where the arrogance comes in, George. I have a problem with that.
Yeah. I hear you on that. Helene Davis-White joins the conversation. Good evening, Helene. Happy New Year to you as well. Happy 25.
George, Happy New Year to you as well, and to Michael as well.
Right. Helene, we're looking at the at 25 from the perspective of both political parties. Michael says, look, he looks on either side and he's not comfortable. He's not satisfied with what he's seen based on how both parties trended in 2024. Your view?
Well, I think the polls would have showed that, the Jamaica Labour Party has lost quite a bit of support, and even more so, the Prime Minister has lost a lot of support among the voting population, and that with respect to the People's National Party, that they have gained support in 2024, and certainly Mark Golding is in a much better position now than he was at the start of 2024. So I think in terms of the support for both political parties, 2024 was an important period, and especially because it's leading right into the next general election. So you're saying earlier that the second half starts in January. And that is very much the situation, because we are in election mode, because we're absolutely sure that an election will be called and should be called by, I think, September of this year. So we are in election mode. I would agree that, generally speaking, both political parties have been reduced, so to speak, to their base. And this has been for some time now, because those persons who were enthused and were expecting changes over the years have been disappointed, disillusioned, and rather than them switching from one party to the other, they have basically decided to opt out of the electoral process,
yes,
which is something that I find is very dangerous.
Yeah, hold the point there, Hedy. Let me take a quick break and come right back so you can finish up the point. This is Lead Story on CVM TV, the first show for 25. Very important here, this one is.
At JPS, we love to serve you. It's our joy to bring you the light. You are the reason we get out there every day and stay late into the night. It's been our privilege and pleasure to serve you. May this Christmas be merry and bright.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Jamaica. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Jamaica. Be safe and be joyful.
Welcome back to Lead Story here on CVM TV. It's the first show of the new year. I have Dr. Michael Abrahams with me, and I have Helene Davis-White. Helene, before the break, you were saying that the political parties, people, rather than switching sides, they retreated to the middle, standing, waiting to see if there's anything on offer to pull them back into the fold, is the point you were making.
Yes, and I think it is even worse than that in my view, because some persons have just opted out of the process and they are not interested in voting. And we have seen that in terms of the reduced numbers that turn out at the poll. And the last elections, it was really a minority that elected the current government into office, because we had, I think, a little under 50% of the electorate that voted then. And that situation is not improving, because young people are not enthused, they're not encouraged, and those older persons who would have been involved over the years, they have opted out of the process, many of them as well. And so we're really down to the basis of both political parties, and it's often said that the PNP base is larger than the JLP base, and so the JLP usually has to do more to come up with a win, because they cannot only depend on their base, because they need others to join in. And so for that reason, I think the JLP is in a little spot of bother going into the election campaign.
Yeah.
The PNP, I don't think, is sitting really strong, because they have just now sort of come over the hump, and they will have to do a lot of work to keep the momentum going if they expect to win.
Yeah.
And it can't just be about the corruption and so on that they have been utilizing a lot. But I think coming closer, if you want to attract persons in who are not of your base, you have to be able to say to them,
yes,
this is what I'm going to do differently from what is being done now, and start to put policies and programs forward so that people can see that they have a choice.
Give them a set of possibilities. Michael Abrahams, we look at countries where the election turnout is 60 or 70%. What do you think would need to happen between now and whenever election day is for 70% of Jamaicans to get out and vote either way?
A miracle. I don't see that happening within that short time span. Certain changes would have to be made. So in some countries, by law, you have to vote. I think Australia is one of those countries, if I'm not mistaken. But both parties have a lot of work to do to convince us that they really have our best interests at heart. The government has to, show us that they're not as arrogant and entitled as many of us perceive them to be. The opposition has to prove to us that they are a well-oiled machine and they're a unified unit that are as alert as they ought to be. Because many Jamaicans are really not feeling them as much as they should, even as they are dissatisfied with the government.
Yeah.
So both parties have a lot of work to do.
May I ask you, Michael Abrams, as one of the Jamaicans who think when they act in a certain way, are you motivated to vote based on what you've historically done, perhaps where most of your professional friends or other friends are, or are you motivated to vote by what the party is posturing to do for the country?
I believe it's my right.
Yeah, man, but I'm asking it.
I didn't hear the last part about professional friends.
Yeah, but no, man, I'm asking you. So, right, I'm saying to you, what motivates you? Is it where, what you've done traditionally, so you say, well, you know what, give them the X as I usually do, or is it what it is that is compelling about what they're offering the electorate going into the election that motivates you to make the decision either way on election day?
Yeah, you said vote, put the X as I usually do. I don't have any loyalty. I voted for both parties.
Yes, but...
and I repeatedly get disappointed. It's kind of like being a Man U supporter.
And that's why I asked...
I get disappointed repeatedly, but I think it's my duty to vote.
And that's why I asked the question the way I do, because many people are saying that, what am I left to do? Because I get shafted whichever way I go, whether I go traditionally or whether I vote on the issues, I still end up stuck in the same place. And that's the reason for asking the question that way.
I think you should... It's about your country's future. I think you should exercise that right. I strongly believe that you should.
Yeah.
The last election, I voted for this administration. They're there because of people like me.
Yes.
And the unfortunate thing is that when you criticize an administration, there's this binary thinking, and people think, well, you must be for the other side. Why are you doing it? But no, it's because I trusted you, and you have let me down.
Yeah.
But I'm going to vote. I have to vote.
Absolutely.
I always
so.
do.
Happy for that you are saying that up front, because it seems to be the rigor for people to say, oh, I'm not voting, oh, I'm ignoring the political process, almost as if they expect some commendation for absenting themselves from choosing the next administration. Helene Davis-White, I ask you this. Is there enough time for either of these two parties to do something that will mass mobilize electors to their side? Is there the possibility of that in the time we have left to when we anticipate the Prime Minister will have to call the election by?
I don't think so. It would have to be something monumental that happens that awakes people up to say that I have to vote. I mean, like Michael, I'm somebody who has to vote at any point in time. I look, if it is even that I'm voting for the best of the bad lot, I have to find a party to vote for. So, but I don't think where we are now that it is possible for you to have any kind of mass turnout of voters in Jamaica. When you talk to people generally, they are at a stage where they are so disillusioned with the process that their answer is to stay out of the process. And I am one person who encouraged them not to do that, because we are giving up a right that was fought for, and we need to exercise the right. So you need to make a choice, that my belief is. But I don't think in this short time span that any party will be able to mobilize mass numbers to come out and vote.
Hear you on that. Love the perspectives, and I'm very happy that two people as distinguished as yourselves have said to the Jamaican people that you are voting and that they must do so too, regardless of which side they believe is deserving of that vote on election day. Mike Abrams, thank you very much for your time, sir.
CVM News at 7 Headlines Thursday, brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy.
tonight in CVM News at 7. Customers to get 50% debt write-off under NWC Amnesty. A retrospective on the political intrigue of 2024. We also look at Jamaica's environmental journey to 2025. And in the business report, from boys to breadwinners, investing in Jamaican males. While in sports, a JPL outlook for 2025.
News at 7, Headlines Thursday, brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy.
Should critical illness strike, don't let worry fill your head. Say hello to happiness and goodbye to worry with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider Plan. Secure your medical expenses in the event of critical illness ahead of time while benefiting from our investment portfolio and so much more. Give yourself and your family the peace of mind you deserve with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider Plan today. And live secure, live easy.
From Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7. I'm Nika Lewis. It's Thursday, January 2, 2025. Thank you so much for joining us. Crime fighters in St. Catherine are basking in the noteworthy reductions in major crimes, especially murders. The last year saw St. Catherine South making a remarkable turnaround, with murders falling below 100 for the first time in years. CVM News spoke with a commanding officer for Area 5 this week. The St. Catherine Police are celebrating a year of successful crime fighting and community relations, with marked reductions in murders between the two divisions, North and South. Area 5 Commander Acting Assistant Commissioner of Police Christopher Phillips is heaping praise on the teams for their continued partnerships and strategic enforcement.
St. Catherine North finished with 94 murders under 100, and St. Catherine South finished with 83 murders under 100. Interestingly, for St. Catherine South, it's the lowest figure in about 20 years. The last time we had such low numbers in murders was in 2002, right? So the team is really, excited that they were able to accomplish this, and we look forward to a better year, strengthening the teams going forward, refocusing our efforts on those persons for 2024 we weren't able to catch.
Additionally, he too is echoing the influence of the commissioner on the morale of the force.
We have seen similarities in terms of how the gangs operate, and we have identified there is networking right across the two divisions. It's one parish, and so being mindful of that, one of the strategies was to really get the teams in North and South to start to synchronize their efforts around going after these players who were impacting both St. Catherine North and impacting St. Catherine South.
The officer shares just how the team will continue to make well on the gains of 2024, accepting that crime fighting in St. Catherine is no easy feat.
Our communication with the public is important, how we get the public involved in the efforts, and I think that is improving even the level of trust and confidence, that they have in us. We're going to be increasing those efforts to keep the public in the know as to what is happening. The communication strategy around these key and main players, that has to be known. And, to get down into just continue on a part of focusing, the intel-driven, the targeting. We have the area fugitive apprehension team that will be so tasked to continue to go after these persons,
With overall major crimes falling by some 14% in 2024, the commanding officer notes the homicide initiative that proved useful in St. Catherine South will now be replicated in other areas, including St. Andrew North. Last year was one of bold moves, high stakes, and political drama in Jamaica. From historic steps towards becoming a republic to heated debates over parliamentary independence and a finance minister making global history, the nation found itself at the center of seismic change. With a general election on the horizon, CVM's Ramon Gordon looks back at the controversies and milestones that defined 2024.
In December 2024, Jamaica took a decisive step towards full sovereignty. Before the lower house, Constitutional Affairs Minister Marlene Malahoo Fort introduced a bill aimed at severing ties with King Charles as head of state, paving the way for a true Jamaican republic.
Let's choose a future that is brighter than our past.
The Constitution Amendment Republic Act 2024, slated for debate in March 2025, received cautious support from the parliamentary opposition, which reiterated its stance against the Privy Council. In October, the Holness administration faced a significant shake-up with the resignation of celebrated Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke to join the International Monetary Fund. Dr. Clarke made history as the first Caribbean national to hold such a high-ranking position within the IMF. His departure cleared the way for Harvard-educated Fayval Williams to become Jamaica's first female finance minister. The ministry was quickly tested soon after her appointment when the Jamaica Accountability Meter portal JAMP revealed that approximately $3 trillion in public funds remain unaccounted for due to several government ministries and agencies failing to submit appropriation accounts.
We at the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service are committed to working with ministries to ensure timely completion of these reports at the standard that is required.
In April, Juliet Holness faced criticism over a letter targeting former clerk to the Houses of Parliament Valerie Curtis for her management of Auditor General reports. The controversy intensified amid questions about Holness's dual role as Speaker and wife of Prime Minister Andrew Holness. Tensions peaked during the March budget debate, leading to a dramatic government walkout.
The Speaker is intended to be independent and must act independently of the government today. That is the tradition.
The opposition mirrored this move with its own Senate walkout in July over a separate matter. The 2024 local government election in February resulted in a 7-7 split between the JLP and PNP, though the PNP won the popular vote with 51.83%. Months of campaigning saw heated exchanges, including verbal attacks on the press. The government later distanced itself from remarks made by its members. The controversies culminated in what many regard as the year's most significant clash, the Prime Minister's ongoing legal battle with the Integrity Commission over his statutory declarations.
This effort to pursue me and my affairs led to the hiring of an international forensic accounting examiner for 6 months.
After the tabling of a second Integrity Commission report alleging building breaches involving a company linked to him, Prime Minister Holness expressed concern about being unfairly targeted. 2025 is an election year, and while we couldn't cover every story, like the Marquis British debacle, this year promises to be even more eventful. Ramon Gordon for CVM News.
And 2024 was nothing short of contentious for the environmental sector, which remained heated right throughout the year. It was the private sector, however, against advocates and the government in between. As the referee, Trisha Gay Kelly walks us through the wave of events.
The environmental sector had its fair share of struggles in 2024, continuing controversy coming out of the previous year. The year began with rafters in St. Mary pleading to regain access to the White River after the tourism product development company TPDCO barred them from rafting. This due to rising concerns around unethical practices with tourists at the facility. This pushed many of them upstream to the Rio Nuevo, where operations were much different.
The guests come in and they can just relax and we wait our name to call. That's how it's supposed to be.
Others who were left behind were suffering. Their calls for help then gained them limited access to the White River, with only 4 rafters allowed at any given time. To this, they agreed.
We want all of that to put to an end now. So we gonna try and see how best we can work it out with this endorsement we're waiting on.
And while the rafters waited, St. Catherine took the spotlight when numerous complaints of fish kills in the Rio Cobre surfaced, leaving advocates enraged.
Considering that we're coming out of several other fish kills, there can't be very many fish left.
But the National Environment and Planning Agency NEPA weighed in, clarifying that not all incidents can be considered fish kills depending on the volume of the damage. Nonetheless, the entity vowed to have serious conversations with companies affecting the river.
We'll go with the company, sit with them, sit with their environmental team, their management, and say, you have gotten a permit from us. These are the conditions of your permit. And you need to understand them because you have some obligations. Likewise, NEPA have obligations to monitor your compliance.
All while some of these same entities were already in court for previous environmental breaches. But there were more court dates than results.
Each time they come and they ask for delay and they ask for delay, and it's a vicious attack on the people in the communities who have been patiently waiting.
Talks of oil spills in the Rio Cobre cooled down for a moment, though the advocates did not. Yet again, something else was brewing.
The big issue is the plastic bottles. From year to year, it's in the top 10. Actually, it's the number 1 item for us in Jamaica.
Though the advocates acknowledged the government's efforts in increasing fines for breaches, they were fighting for permanent solutions. And speaking of permanent, one specific oil spill case finally reached the walls of the court. But shortly after, a secret settlement crept in, and the case was dismissed nearing the end of the year. This, however, was not taken lightly by many who labeled the practice an injustice. This matter is ongoing, as the advocates have called on the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions to step in. And so the year ended on a high tide, suggesting that 2025 could be just as eventful as 2024. Trisha Gay Kelly, CVM News.
More to come on CVM News at 7, right after this break.
What's your story? What's your sign? You're dreamers. Don't care what other people say. We're doing this in our own way. We come alive. We come alive. We come alive. We're doing this in our own way. We come alive.
No more fear of missing out. CVM TV News is on YouTube. Get up-to-date news, sports, and business content at CVM TV News anytime, anywhere. Subscribe now to CVM TV News to see it happen.
It's been 3 years.
Come on, D. I have it. Let's go. Oh, my baby. Son, oh, my baby. Oh, my goodness. Them feeding you over there, though? Your favorite. Welcome home, son.
This is home.
Welcome back. Reducing violence against the homeless population and a cleaner city are still major priorities for the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation. Kingston's Mayor Andrew Swaby reiterated their importance at the annual New Year homeless feeding program on Wednesday. Shante McNeil has that story.
Over 300 homeless individuals were served hot meals on Wednesday as part of the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation's New Year feeding program held at the William Grant Park. Mayor Andrew Swaby says the initiative is more than just offering meals, as they are also taking steps towards addressing violence against the homeless population.
We understand that there are challenges out there with some persons who have irritate them. And it's a situation that we want to work with them on. But from time to time, you'll see some things that happen to them, or they will give you the experience that you'll tell how persons trouble them on the road, wake them up or so, who will throw stones at them. And we want to get rid of those things. So at the same time, we have to sensitize our population that these are members of our community and they have a role to play. A role that might be significant as you would have liked it, but we want to cater for them.
The mayor is also exploring plans for a permanent facility to provide consistent care and services for the homeless.
I am assured that in this month we'll be meeting with all the persons who are doing the feeding. We have been looking at a possible location, and hopefully by that time we can have some proposal on the table where we can tackle this problem. Probably right now, if you think about it, 65 Hanover Street would be an ideal place where we can feed them, because we want to put until we can get a much more ideal place.
Swaby says a centralized location would not only help those in need, but also keep the city cleaner. This year's initiative, organized by the Poor Relief Department, received support from the Hummingbird Feeds program. Shante McNeil, CVM News.
With the National Water Commission, NWC's amnesty commencing today, thousands of Jamaicans owing the company are expected to benefit from some 50% discount on monies owed. Adrian Williams reports.
With over 150,000 people owing the National Water Commission, NWC, the agency has launched its amnesty to ease the burden on individuals and customers. Acting Corporate Public Relations Manager for the NWC, Delano Williams, says qualified persons will have 50% of their debt cut.
Once a customer makes contact with us, we will assess the account to confirm that it qualifies. So the ones that are disconnected will verify that it's 6 months or more. And once the customer qualifies, we'll indicate to them how much the balance is. So we will show them, if it's $10, we say, okay, $5 will be written off. The remaining $5 is what the customer will be asked to pay. If they can't pay all 5 in one go, then we will give them a payment plan, offer them a payment plan along the terms of how many months they can manage. They normally start with a deposit, and then they break the other portion in installments over the remaining months.
This compliance should aid in the maintenance of existing infrastructure and fund projects to build new piping networks.
We, for the substantial part of our operations, rely on customer payments. So every customer, as Jamaicans would say, one cocoa full basket, every customer that pays us gives us the opportunity to invest in pipes and pumps to repair leaks. So short to medium term, these balances that are being cleared help us to put more pipes in the ground and to replace faulty equipment.
A high inflow of persons are expected during the amnesty period. The PR manager is reminding the public of alternatives to coming in office.
We want to highlight that they do not have to all come in. We have a number of online channels or electronic channels. So mobile app is a good source. Customers may also utilize our contact center, which is it's given as a toll-free number. So 888-225-5692. That allows them to make contact with us and to log their query or request for any of the amnesty programs that are available. And we expect this to run for the portion for the next few months, so January, February, and into March.
The agency is offering rewards for compliant customers.
We are offering them a chance to win $20,000, and that will be applicable to 350 customers across the island. That's about 25 customers per parish.
The non-revenue water reduction program will be geared towards long-term repair and upgrading of infrastructure. Adrian Williams reporting for CVM News.
Stay with us. We have much more to come after the break.
Hey you know all the people in your business?
You should take advantage of CVM TV's unbeatable small business advertising package. Trust me. And get your goods and services in front of your customers today.
For $150,000, you get a high-quality professional commercial.
Plus 20 prime-time commercial spots.
That's massive exposure at a fraction of the cost.
Including on the #1 morning show in Jamaica, Sunrise.
So don't wait. Call us on 658-208-5377 and see your business goals happen right here on CVM Television.
Our days get a little complex sometimes. Often so many things make sense, yet so many do not. We are being intentional about giving prominence to the big stories in order to clarify and enlighten. Lead Story explains who, what, when, where, why, and how. Lead Story with George Davis, weekdays at 6:30 p.m. on CVM TV.
Thanks for staying with us. It's now time for regional and international news.
We begin with news in the region. Attorney-at-law Randall Hector was the final victim of murder in Trinidad during 2024, bringing the year's toll to 624. The attorney was gunned down just an hour before the new year. Hector's death is being described as an assassination. More from CNC3 News.
Attorney-at-law Randall Hector delivered a New Year's Eve sermon to a congregation at the Stanmore Avenue Seventh-day Adventist Church in Port of Spain. And as he exited the church with his family to head to their vehicle, gunmen were waiting. Hector, 43, a former prosecutor in the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions and a lawyer in the Office of the Attorney General, then later transitioned into his own private practice. Legal sources said he had been contracted by the state as a special prosecutor to take on high-profile cases, including one involving an alleged notorious gang leader. He also provided legal expertise to the Strategic Services Agency, a specialized unit within the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. At the scene today on Stanmore Avenue, Hector's blood still stained the ground and many still asking questions as Hector became the last person to be murdered in 2024.
BRICS, the Global South-led Forum for Economic Cooperation, has officially expanded with the inclusion of 9 new nations as partner countries. The nations officially joined on January 1, 2025, with Uganda as the only African country among them. That report from SABC News.
9 of 13 nations accepted the invitation to be part of the Global South bloc. Uganda, the only African country, Belarus, Bolivia, Cuba, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Kazakhstan, as well as the Uzbekistan are now officially partner members from the first day of 2025. The partner status is a pathway to becoming full members in the near future. Uganda's government officials say by aligning with the BRICS alliance, the East African country is positioning itself to benefit from deeper economic ties with some of the world's largest emerging markets. Experts say Uganda's significant involvement in regional peacekeeping efforts with the East African region could have influenced the country's appeal to the BRICS grouping over other applicants. The BRICS bloc says it offers countries in the Global South the opportunity to strengthen their role in global governance, but also economic alternatives.
And in international news, a metallic object Likely space junk crashed in Kenya's Makuku village. The massive ring, weighing approximately 1,100 pounds and about 8 feet in diameter, is believed to be from a rocket launch vehicle. The Kenya Space Agency is investigating its origin and impact. We hear more from Reuters.
Kenya Space Agency, or KSA, assessed the debris in the crash site in Makueni County. Here's KSA officer Major Aloys Weir.
It is a part of a space object, which is in form of a ring, a metallic ring, possibly from a rocket separation stage.
Officers retrieved fragments from the site for further analysis and to investigate the origin of the fallen object.
We are to assess the impact to the area, identify whose space object it is, so that we can use the existing legal mechanisms under international law as far as the Outer Space Treaty is concerned, to look and to find a way to first get the person and bring him to the responsibility of his space object.
The KSA said the debris does not pose an immediate threat to safety. There were no casualties and no significant damage was reported. There's growing concern around increased global space activities and the rise of man-made objects in the Earth's orbit. That's led experts and governments to highlight the potential risks associated with space junk, including incidents like this one when debris falls back to Earth.
And that's it for regional and international news.
Here's what's happening on the social media landscape.
So, what's trending in our local social media spaces? Unruly Entertainment has released a statement explaining the circumstances surrounding Popcorn's onstage outburst at the Freedom Street concert towards Scatterburrell. The issue stemmed from a 3-hour wait to enter the venue and a dispute over using his own band. Here are some of your reactions. At HK_Bomber comments, "This me I work with, this sounds sensible to me." At Nextdoor_Bailey writes, Scatter responded, quote, "Me can't bother with Popcorn and him 100 man," unquote. "I'm sorry, but I'm curious. What was the exact number of men?" At Kayla Don writes, shares, "Well, to be fair, Popcorn is usually with 100 man for true, but he still shouldn't have dealt with him so." At Sea Island All Natural Skincare posts, "No excuses for that nasty behavior." At Kada Guy 2 says, "If Popcorn and Law came on time, this would have sought out earlier. Scatter is on stage. The man at the door didn't let you in." At Walking in Favor asks, "Was there any guideline as it relates to artists and their 100 men/entourage?" And that's what's trending online today. Continue to share your thoughts with us on X at CVM TV and CVM_television on Instagram. I'm Ronaldo Adams.
We take a break. Stay with us.
Where titles are decided, where respect is earned. Excel here and you could go down in history. It's the final third. CVM TV's weekly JPL preview show every Sunday, starting 30 minutes before our live broadcast. Get insight, analysis, and hear from your favorite players weekly, just before we bring you our feature broadcast for the day. Move from defense to attack and join us in the final third. This and every Sunday until the end of the JPL season.
That jacket! When was you in the Temptation?
Steve knows style. Family Feud.
Brought to you by We Are the Caring Store, waiting to serve you. It's time to experience independent living. Visit us today.
No more fear of missing out. CVM TV News is on YouTube. Get up-to-date news, sports, and business content at CVM TV News anytime, anywhere. Subscribe now to CVM TV News to see it happen.
the holidays. However you want, KFC is finger-licking good. The Time by KFC is...
Welcome back. Now to the Business Report with Joel Crosskill.
Lots to share with you in the Business Report today. Emerging from the keynote session, Education for All, creating inclusive, gender-responsive and learner-centered systems in education at the regional symposium held in the Cayman Islands, where Dr. Verna Knight, coordinator for the Eastern Caribbean Joint Board of Teacher Education at the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus, shared this paradigm-shifting quote.
In many classrooms across developing countries, 1/3 of our students are known to be physically present, but disengaged from learning. They are in school, but achieving no greater academic success than the child who is out of school.
As at November 2024, almost 700,000 Jamaicans are considered to be outside the labor force, approximately 60% of which are women. However, the BR today is focused on the dynamics impacting males, as experts call for targeted mentorship to address the widening education gap in the Caribbean. Mr. Lanray Chin, mentorship officer at the Jamaica Teaching Council, describes some of the factors impacting the disparity in outcomes between genders.
Maybe 30, 40 years ago, it was about girls' education. Now we're having a crisis in terms of boys' education, and yet some of the donor agencies are still pushing a girl agenda without actually addressing the fact that now the boys have become disenfranchised. In Jamaica, education is widely seen as both a social and economic driver. The country invests heavily in the sector, with about 6% of GDP going towards education. If you break it down more in a more granular way, about 20% of our national budget is directed towards education. But yet, despite all of this funding, there is a challenge, a disengagement, particularly among the boys.
With approximately 1,000 boys incarcerated annually in Jamaica, the disengagement, he says, leads to a significant wastage of human resources, citing barriers that hinder better outcomes among the male school-aged population.
The absence of male role models. When my father was at school many decades ago, most of his teachers were male, right? So he had what we call living examples of who a male is supposed to be. What is your role? What is your function? Only around 20% of the teachers in Jamaica are actually males. And when you look at the higher level institutions, the colleges and universities, only around 25 to 30% of those that enter the school are males. And let us not talk about the matriculation aspect of it. How many of those actually come out with degrees?
The JTC mentorship officer, however, noted a significant shift in the hiring philosophies of major corporations, partially in response to the phenomenon that places less emphasis on accreditation as a potential avenue for increased male participation.
If you examine companies like Google, they are moving towards a more competency-based approach in terms of employment. So there's less interest in paper qualifications, because a lot of times you have persons with paper qualifications but no ideas and no sense, right? So we have to move towards a competency approach. The shift opens up new possibilities for education to re-engage boys. Instead of solely focusing on academic performance, the system can pivot towards more practical skills. We're in an environment with several needs. Now the system should be creating entrepreneurs, not workers. So the mindset of the boys needs to be shifted, and this is why they're not being engaged.
One of the responses that have been trialled to meet those changes is the implementation of income-generating projects through entrepreneurship programs in schools.
Let me give you some examples